We're investigating a hit and run involving this vehicle.
I need to speak to my dad. He's a lawyer.
Okay. Your dad isn't here right now. You're an adult.
You don't understand who he is.
That doesn't change what happened.
We'll see about that.
Ma'am, do not close that door.
I need to speak to my dad. He's a lawyer, Bianca says as she stares into the police officer's camera. She stands tall next to her expensive black car, her green dress shining under the streetlights. She has a small smile on her face that shows she thinks she is better than everyone else. The officer does not look impressed at all. He looks at her calmly and says, "Okay, so your dad isn't here right now. You're an adult." Bianca rolls her eyes and crosses her arms, acting like the officer is just a servant who is bothering her. She believes that her father's name, Dominic Vance, is a magic word that will make the police go away. She thinks her family's power makes her untouchable, but the officer is just beginning his job. On February 10th, 2026, the quiet streets of a wealthy neighborhood are filled with flashing blue and red lights. Officer Osmo and his team have just arrived at a house after a witness reported a black Mercedes-Benz hitting a trailer and driving away. The officers quickly spot the car parked near a luxury home, and the damage is easy to see. The front right headlight is smashed, and pieces of glass are scattered on the ground nearby. As the officers walk toward the car, Bianca Vance is already standing there, looking like she has no worries in the world. She doesn't look like someone who is just in a car crash. Instead, she looks ready for a party in her fancy green dress, but the officer's heavy boots and the clicking of his gear show that this is serious business. Officer Osmo walks up to her and asks for her ID, but Bianca just looks at him with a cold stare, acting like he is bothering her for no reason. Officer Osmo stands by the driver's side door and asks Bianca to step out so they can talk. Bianca stays in her seat, looking up at him with a bored expression. She asks, "Why would I speak to you right now?" The officer explains that he is investigating a hit and run and needs to hear her side of the story. He speaks politely and even says it might just be a simple traffic crash if she is willing to share her information. He asks for her license, registration, and insurance. Bianca just shakes her head and says, "First of all, I have nothing to speak to you. Second of all, I'm not running of anything." She acts like the rules are a game she doesn't want to play. She refuses to move or help, thinking that if she ignores the officer, he will eventually give up and leave her alone. Officer Osmo leans toward the car window and gives Bianca a clear warning. He tells her that she is not free to leave because she is part of a criminal investigation. Bianca tries to ignore him and starts to reach for the door handle, but the officer stops her. He says firmly, "You're not going to close the door unless you're just going to go on cuffs." Bianca looks shocked and asks if he has a warrant, but the officer explains that he doesn't need one to investigate a hit and run. He tells her one more time that she must cooperate or things will get much worse. Bianca stares at him with anger, realizing for the first time that her father's name might not stop the officer from using his handcuffs. While Bianca remains defiant, Officer Osmo's partner walks over to the front of her black Mercedes-Benz. He points his flashlight at the right headlight, which is smashed into sharp, jagged pieces. He then walks a few feet away to the trailer that was reported hit. On the ground, scattered across the dark pavement, are small shards of clear glass that sparkle under the flashlight's beam. The officer picks up a piece and holds it near the broken car light. It is a perfect match. "She definitely hit that trailer," the partner says, looking back at Officer Osmo. Bianca watches this from the corner of her eye, her smug expression fading for just a second as the physical evidence connects her directly to the crime. Even with her father's legal power, she cannot explain away the broken glass that proves she was there. Officer Osmo tells Bianca that she is not free to leave, but she tries to ignore him. She turns around and starts walking away toward her house, acting like the conversation is over. The officer quickly moves to stop her. He grabs her arm and says, "If you walk away, you're going in cuffs. It's going to be that simple." Bianca tries to pull away, but the officer is faster. He pulls her hands behind her back, and the loud click of the metal handcuffs echoes through the quiet street. Bianca gasps and looks back at him with a mix of shock and anger. She can't believe that someone would actually put her in handcuffs. She shouts, Look at me. For what? The officer doesn't back down. He looks her right in the eyes and says she is being detained for a hit-and run. For the first time, Bianca's confident smile is gone, replaced by the cold reality that her father's status didn't stop the police from arresting her. With the handcuffs tightly on her wrists, Bianca's mood changes from shock to deep anger. She begins to argue that the police are only there because she is new to the neighborhood. "This is very personal," she says, looking at the officers with a mean glare. She claims that someone must have called the police just to cause trouble for her. Officer Osmo tries to explain that they are only there because of the hit-and-run report and the matching damage on her car, but Bianca refuses to listen. She tells the officer that she doesn't think he is a human being and that his job is a joke. She acts like the entire legal system is a personal attack on her lifestyle. She stands by her black Mercedes, trying to look important even though she is in trouble, and tells the officer that his power won't last forever. As Bianca leans against her black Mercedes, she notices the small red light blinking on the officer's chest. Instead of being worried, she uses it as a way to mock him. "Do you have a body camera?" she asks with a sharp laugh. When the officer confirms that it is recording everything, she tells him to go ahead and investigate his camera instead of her. She acts like the footage will somehow prove she is innocent or show that she is more important than the law. She tells the officer that she knows the rules and laws of the United States better than he does. Even though she is in handcuffs, she treats the body camera like a mirror, posing and smirking while she insults the officer's career. She doesn't realize that the red blinking light is actually capturing every word of her noncompliance, creating the very evidence that will be used against her later. Bianca leans back against the Mercedes with a smug grin, looking at the officers like they are beneath her. She shakes her head and tells Officer Osmo that she once thought about becoming a police officer herself, but she has changed her mind. "I don't think I would consider that career anymore," she says with a sharp laugh, acting like the job is too low for someone of her status. She tells the officer that she is more of a human being than he is and that he is just a man of the law who lacks peace. She treats the arrest like a joke, mockingly telling him, "This is so romantic," as she is led toward the patrol car. Bianca uses her words to try and make the officers feel small, hoping that her insults will make them uncomfortable enough to let her go. She still believes her family's wealth and power means she can say whatever she wants without getting into more trouble. Even with the handcuffs on, Bianca is not ready to stop fighting. She keeps reaching for her phone, which she has pulled out to call for help. She tells the officers, "I need my dad," and says she doesn't even know her own phone number because her father takes care of everything for her. Officer Osmo tells her to stop with the phone and just give him the number, but Bianca insists that she has to call her father so he can tell her what to do. She acts like she is a child who needs permission to speak, even though the officer reminds her that she is an adult. She tries to pull her hand away when the officer reaches for the phone, still hoping that one call to Dominic Vance will make all her problems disappear. She stands right in front of her house, frustrated that her father's shadow isn't enough to protect her from the law this time. Officer Osmo looks at Bianca and tells her to listen closely. He explains that the first part of their meeting, the crash investigation, is now completely over. Bianca looks confused and asks, "What does that have to do with me?" The officer's voice becomes even more serious as he says, "Now we're going to start a different investigation." Bianca realizes that the traffic crash has turned into a criminal DUI investigation. She gets angry and says, "Oh, so this is your whole plan the entire time." She tries to move away again, but the officer tells her to stay right where she is. The mood changes from a simple talk about a car accident to a high-stakes criminal case, and Bianca starts to realize that her father's influence cannot stop this new investigation from moving forward. Officer Osmo looks at Bianca and starts to read her Miranda rights. He tells her that she has the right to remain silent and that anything she says can be used against her in court. Bianca doesn't even let him finish. She interrupts and says, "No, I have a lawyer that needs to talk to you." The officer asks her again if she understands the rights he just explained, but she just keeps repeating, "I have a lawyer." She refuses to say yes or no to his questions, acting like the words don't apply to her. Even though she is being warned about her legal situation, Bianca thinks that mentioning her lawyer dad is enough to stop the process. The officer finally says he will assume she understands her rights, but just doesn't want to talk to him right now. Bianca stands there with a cold look, waiting for the lawyer she thinks is coming to save her. Officer Osmo leads Bianca to a flat area of the pavement where a long, straight line is painted. He explains that since they are now investigating a DUI, she needs to perform some field sobriety exercises to prove she is safe to drive. He points to the line and tells her he wants her to walk heel to toe along it. Bianca looks at the line and then back at the officer with a look of pure disgust. No, I'm good, she says, refusing to move from her spot. The officer asks if she understands the instructions and she mockingly replies, I understand, enjoy it. She stands perfectly still in her green dress, refusing to take even one step. She believes that by refusing to do the test, she is winning the argument, but the officer calmly notes her refusal as more evidence that she is not cooperating with the law. Bianca sits in the back of the patrol car, but she is still trying to act like she is in control. She looks at the officer and says with a sharp laugh, "This is so romantic." She is using sarcasm to hide the fact that she is becoming very afraid. She keeps demanding her phone so she can call her father, Dominic Vance, and her lawyer. She tells the officer that he is only bringing her in for something he can clock in for, and that she is being treated like a criminal for no reason. She stares at the officer with a mean look, but her voice shakes a little bit when she demands her phone right now. Even though she is trying to act like she is too cool to care, the reality of being in the back of a police car is starting to sink in. She is beginning to realize that her father's name might not be a get-out-of-jail-free card after all. Officer Osmo holds a stack of legal papers in front of Bianca and tells her she needs to sign them. These papers are the official charges for the hit and run and the DUI investigation. Bianca shakes her head and says, I have a need to speak to my dad. He's a lawyer, and if he says, sign this document, then I will. The officer is tired of the excuses. He looks at her and says firmly, so, your dad isn't here right now. You're an adult. The decision is yours. Bianca refuses to move, so the officer starts a final countdown.
5,
4, he says as he counts down to 1. He warns her that if he gets to 1 and she hasn't signed, he will assume she is refusing to follow the law. Bianca tries to stall by saying maybe or hold on, but the officer doesn't stop. She stares at the pen as the seconds tick away, realizing that her time to act like she is above the law has finally run out. The ride to the station is quiet, and the reality of the night finally sets in for Bianca. Once they arrive, the bright lights of the booking room replace the dark streets of her neighborhood. Because she refused to perform the sobriety tests, declined to give a breath sample, and would not sign the legal forms, the officers have no choice but to list all her crimes. Bianca is officially charged with a hit and run, driving under the influence, DUI, and several counts of resisting an officer. She stands in front of the camera for her mugshot, no longer smirking or acting like a star. Her expensive green dress and her father's legal reputation cannot stop the heavy cell door from closing. Bianca Vance finally learns that while her dad is a lawyer, even he cannot fix a choice to break the law and ignore the police.